Meishu Sama was born on December 23rd, 1882. Japan was changing, responding to successive waves of westernization. Horses drew coaches down the Ginza on rails now. The samurai topknot was nowhere to be seen, and one new Western-type newspaper after another made its debut. It was the dawn of a new age. Meishu Sama was born in Hashiba in the Asakusa district of Tokyo, a working-class district where local traditions lived on, where there was a sense of warm-hearted community. Meishu Sama's father, Kisaburo, was known for his sense of fairness and justice. His mother, Tori, was a religious and hard-working woman. In 1889, Meishu Sama entered lower grammar school. He graduated from lower grammar school a year ahead of everyone else and demonstrated exceptional academic performance in his subsequent studies. However, he was not a strong boy. While the other children in his neighborhood occupied themselves with the usual games and childish activities, he was usually to be found reading a book on the grounds of the temple. Meishu Sama's parents were poor. By day, they ran a second-hand shop. By night, they hauled a cart down the street and set up a night stall. His frailty prevented Meishu Sama from helping his parents with the night stall, but he was eager to do something anyway. He got up early and did chores such as cooking and cleaning. It was a poor family, but close. Everyone helped each other. There was a bond of warm affection. After graduating from the higher grammar school, he entered the preparatory course of Tokyo Fine Arts School in 1897. He wanted to become a painter. He was full of hope and high expectations and studied enthusiastically. He was happy. His happiness, however, did not last long. Less than 6 months after entering art school, he came down with an eye disease. He was devastated. The doctors did what they could, but to no avail. Meishu Sama's dream of becoming a painter turned to dust. He stayed at home. He didn't eat. Things did not improve. He was hospitalized for pleurisy. For a while, he seemed to be on the mend, but then the pleurisy got worse. Finally, it was clear he had tuberculosis, at that time a dreaded and inevitably fatal disease. Meishu Sama spent many sleepless nights. The future seemed dim. Then one day he chanced on a book. One sentence caught his attention. Vegetables are full of the blessings of nature and have the power to cure disease. Meishu Sama decided that it was better to try something, no matter how unlikely, rather than doing nothing, rather than just waiting passively for death. To his surprise, he began to improve. Then, miraculously, he was cured. Who would not be impressed by the power of nature in such circumstances? In 1905, Meishu Sama opened Kodindo, a fancy goods shop. After 2 years, he let his assistant operate the shop, and he opened a wholesale outlet for fancy goods, Okada store. Things were going well. And they got even better. Meishu Sama married to a girl named Taka from Yokohama. Taka was a highly competent and capable woman. Everyone said she was the perfect partner for a merchant. But then Meishu Sama once again faced death, this time in the form of typhoid. Like tuberculosis, typhoid was then generally fatal, but he recovered in just 3 months. After that came other problems. Hemorrhoids, stomach disorder, rheumatism, neurasthenia, arthritis, intestinal catarrh, valvular heart disease, periodontitis. Meishu Sama continued his work undeterred. Meishu Sama's first principle was honesty, and his customers gave him their trust. He worked hard to offer them the best merchandise, and also new concepts and designs. One of the fruits of his efforts was Asahi Diamonds. This innovation created a sensational boom in the industry. In 1915, Meishu Sama obtained patents in 10 countries, including Japan. Okada store grew into a first-rate wholesaler for fancy goods and continued to progress. World War I had dire effects on the economy. Inflation was rampant. People started to hoard staples, such as rice. Meishu Sama decided to start a newspaper targeting corruption and injustice. To raise funds to do this, he started a finance business. In 1919, however, Meishu Sama's bank suspended operations due to the Depression, and his business began to decline. His beloved wife Taka passed away soon after the death of a child who had been born prematurely. Meishu Sama's bank finally went bankrupt. He faced enormous challenges, both emotionally and financially. Her name was Yoshi. Meishu Sama remarried this sweet and wonderful girl. Light had entered his life. In 1920, Meishu Sama made a fresh start. He incorporated his Okada store, but the Japanese economy was still depressed, responding now to global economic malaise, including economic downturn in the U.S. Okada store suffered. In September 1923, the Great Tokyo earthquake devastated the city, and Meishu Sama's business suffered another serious blow. Meishu Sama had not been particularly religious, but repeated misfortune generated an interest in the invisible. He started a serious consideration of divine alternatives as solutions to human problems. Meishu Sama started his newly religious life as a member of the Omoto Shinto sect. A new world of divine beings opened to him, and his interest in it continued to grow. And mysterious things began to happen. One day in December 1926, Meishu Sama was struck by a dramatic and miraculous compulsion. Someone was forcing him to say something. He summoned someone to write it all down, and he began to speak. Incredible things beyond imagination. It was a message from God, beginning with the story of the genesis of Japan and continuing into the future. Meishu Sama was at first skeptical. Could this really be? But various other experiences offered signs and portents, and finally he had to admit the existence of God and the mission he had been given. Meishu Sama had achieved the highest enlightenment. In 1928, Meishu Sama decided to start a new life and withdrew from the business of Okada store. He entrusted his fate to God. He devoted himself wholly to his mission, and that mission was to save the world. God continued to speak to him. On June 15, 1931, he visited Nihonji, a temple in Mount Nokogiri in Chiba Prefecture. Meishu Sama and his followers recited the Amatsu no Rito prayer as the sun rose. At this moment, God revealed to Meishu Sama a startling spiritual truth. He told him that the world was at a turning point, the age of night was ending, and the age of day was beginning. On January 1st, 1935, Meishu Sama established the Japan Canon Society and announced it to the public full of pride and joy. But success produced problems. The Japan Canon Society was small but growing rapidly. The police feared that it posed a threat to established institutions. For offering an alternative method to Western medicine, Meishu Sama was forced to appear for questioning, and his organization was arbitrarily dissolved. Still, Meishu Sama persisted in carrying out his mission. He had faith that a freer Japan would emerge. Meishu Sama developed the Johrei method. He devoted himself to the study of nature farming, as well as to the pursuit of art. And he waited for the time when Johrei could be practiced in public. And that time came. On February 4th, 1950, he established Sekai Meishia Kyo. Its objective, an ideal world. It was just a few years after Japan's defeat in World War II. Food shortages, a lack of goods of all kinds, inflation. Japan was at a low point. But Meishu Sama was confident. He advocated building paradise on earth, an ideal world full of truth, virtue, and beauty, a world free from disease, poverty, and conflict. Great saints and sages have all prophesied such a world. But Meishu Sama said the time to begin building was now. Meishu Sama showed how it could be done. His teachings offered a blueprint, practical guidelines to achieving the goal.
ではこのような素晴らしい神様はどういう神様かというと、これこそキリストの言われたエホバでありまして、キリストの時は間接的救いでありましたが、エホバ直接のお力を振られるのであります。つまりキリストは天国が近づけりと予言されましたが、私は天国を作る実行者であります。
According to Meishu Sama, paradise on earth is a world of beauty. As its prototypes, he constructed sacred grounds in Hakone and Atami, harmonizing natural and artificial or man-made beauty. He then prophesies that these prototypes would someday become the global norm. Meishu Sama worked tirelessly to establish the Johrei method. He promoted nature farming. He collected various artworks for constructing museums. He spent as much time as possible in giving lectures and meeting visitors, and published many articles. He was ceaseless in his efforts. Even facing death, his first concerns were mankind and the people around him. At 33 minutes past 3 on the afternoon of February 10th, 1955, when plum blossoms were all in bloom, Meishu Sama completed his mission in this world to lay the foundation of paradise on earth and ended his life of 72 years. Meishu Sama is no longer with us in this world, but his grand plans are nevertheless being realized one after another. The Zui Unkyo sacred grounds in Atami include a first-class museum. People from all over the world come here to experience true bliss. In 1953, Johrei was introduced to the United States. And since then, the divine light has begun to shine in many countries worldwide. In Brazil, more than 350,000 people practice Johrei. In 1997, they celebrated the completion of sacred grounds in Garapiranga. They're all working hard to develop the sacred grounds into a prototype of that ideal society that Meishu Sama envisioned. In Thailand, too, sacred grounds were constructed in Saraburi by 300,000 Johrei members. In this devoutly Buddhist country, Meishu Sama's teachings have also been accepted beyond ordinary religious frameworks and have brought happiness to many people. In Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, too, Meishu Sama's teachings are taking hold. The divine light is transcending national boundaries and differences of race, language, and culture in every corner of the world.
Ishii